All right. Well, welcome to the third week of non-binary box. We are tasting this guy today. It's a fun little label. 2022 Maloof. Where your PJs at? Is what we're tasting today. In case you're wondering, I've been asking already, but there are these two AI taking notes that's taking place over here. Supposedly, it says it even in the chat box. Joel and EK have requested to take these notes. I don't exactly know how these things work. So I guess it's a new tool that just added. But anyways, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully they're not stealing any, looking at my browser history, because that doesn't look good. Anyways, a few announcements before we get into the wine. I made a mistake on the email that I sent out, but it's all right because I haven't placed the order yet. But Kiss Club did close last week, but I sent out an email yesterday accidentally saying that Kiss Club is, or today, Kiss Club is due today. Get it in, but you can get it in. So if you want to get an order in before I place your order, which is going to be this Thursday, so tomorrow, get your orders in now so I can get that all going. Also, speaking of which, there are quite a few invoices that are still outstanding. So if you're joining us, just go ahead and pay your invoice. If not, just shoot me an email and let me know, just so I can process it all. But I'm going to close the enrollment for July tomorrow. So if you haven't sent me an email or paid your invoice, you're going to get a text from me tomorrow. So don't make me chase you. Just take care of it, or just let me know. In case I haven't told you, next month's theme is going to be all summer pounders. It's hot. I don't really want to overthink wine. Let's just make it easy for everyone. Let's find something delicious that goes down real easy, chill, things you want to bring to a pool party, sit on the porch and drink. That's the whole idea. But of course, I'm gonna put a little twist on it, so each bottle will have some sort of something different. So if you want to bring to a pool party or a porch, hang with friends, people will probably look at that bottle like, what is that wine? What's up with that wine? So there will be some sort of a conversation starter. But at the core of it, it's just really a summer porch pounders is basically what we want next month. So that's what I'm doing, because that's what I want to drink. Okay. That's it for the announcements. Oh, next week, we'll send out a separate email. I did send out a separate email about this already, but next week's tasting is on Tuesday, not on Wednesday. So it should have adjusted. Your Google Calendar should have adjusted. I changed the date already, but next week's tasting is on Tuesday, not on Wednesday. You will get a reminder on Monday instead of Tuesday they usually get, but just know that it is a day early. Next week, I just have to be in Alexandria on Wednesday, so unfortunately I can't be here. So yeah, but that's that. Besides that, I don't really have any other announcements, except this month we are donating to Gender Sexualities Alliance Network in celebration of Pride Month. So if you want to check out what they do, if you want to donate alongside Six for White Club, the link is right there in the chat box. And also, you should have seen an email from our OG member, Liz Dahan. And for those of you who did not know, she's running for Congress from a Florida 13th district, trying to unseat a right-wing Trump supporting nutjob incumbent. So she is coming up on a fundraising deadline. So if you want to donate to her campaign, there's also that too. But let's show her some support. Let's help her push it over the line. Let's help her preserve democracy. All of that. All right. Any questions about any of the things that I just went over before we get into the wine? All right, cool. All right. So the map. All right, so we are back in Oregon. We were in Oregon last week, right? We were in Willamette Valley. We're in Yosemite, with a championship bottle last week. We had a guest speaker. For those of you who missed last week's tasting, we had Saul Muchkin from Championship Bottle join us last week. So if you missed it, go and catch that recording. We had some good conversation. He's a super chill, easygoing dude. Especially in the wine world, it's hard to catch a winemaker that doesn't have a healthy dose of ego. Saul seems to be a super down-to-earth kind of dude. So it was a really good conversation, really fun guy to talk to. I definitely want to visit him out there at some point. Any of you, if you guys are heading out to Oregon, going to wine country, I definitely recommend you visit him. But yeah, check out the recording. Anyways, we are, so Illimity, this is where we were last week. This whole thing is in Willamette Valley, Oregon as a whole. We've had an Oregon month, but it's really, yes, Snake River. This is a part of Oregon winemaking world, but this is really not that significant. It's really divided into these three: the Southern Oregon, Willamette Valley, and Columbia Valley. Columbia Valley becoming really, really a hotbed for natural winemaking out there. Willamette Valley really known for their Pinot Chardonnay, even though a lot of different experimental things with particularly Alsatian varieties like Pinot Gris is popping up here, Riesling as well. But anyway, so we were down here, but this week we're not actually even, we're just in a Willamette Valley area, but we're just west of Portland, northwest of Portland, just due west of Portland, in a city called Forest Grove is where this is. In terms of AVA, American Viticultural Area, it is a Tualatin AVA. Tualatin is a small town outside of southwest of Portland, but this whole area is known as a Tualatin AVA. It doesn't show on this map, but AVA-wise, that's what this wine is, but know that the winery is placed there. But however, the grapes, their estate vineyard is right around Forest Grove, right in Forest Grove, where the winery is. But they work with a lot of different wineries that are kind of scattered all around Willamette Valley. So we're talking about really a Willamette Valley wine and Willamette Valley producer, even though their winery is based in Forest Grove, which is just west of Portland. Let me see if I can pull up the picture right away. These are the two folks, lovely folks who make this wine. Very young couple, husband and wife team. This is B. This is Ross Maloof. The Maloof is their last name. Yeah, young couple. They are true kind of like a yin and yang team. She, B, was a material engineer. So she has her background in real hard science. She was prior to working with grapes, she worked for almost close to a decade as a materials engineer in aerospace space. But she was a long time lover in food and wine. So she turned her eyes from working in aerospace space as a material engineer into working her first harvest in 2016 in Oregon. And that's how she got into wine. The guy on the right, Ross, he's a long time, decade-long professional hospitality restaurant guy, always with the eyes on beverage. So he's bartended, he's been a sommelier, different things in Philly. So he comes from a hospitality background. So we got a real hard science engineer background, hospitality background, and they met in a while back, but they both went out to Oregon to work a 2016 harvest. And then that's how they kind of cemented the fact that they want to move out to Oregon. In 2016, they actually worked harvest together at Day Camp, which is a co-op started by Brienne Day. For those of you, if you remember Brienne Day's wines, we featured her wines a couple of times on this wine club. So yeah, they actually worked to harvest together at Brienne's winery. And then in 2016, they came back to Philly. And 2017, they decided to move to Oregon permanently and then basically start making Maloof full-time. Today, they own no-clo radio. Why can't I change? There you go. This is the actual vineyard, shot of the vineyard. Most of the fruit, a lot of the fruit for this wine comes from this vineyard. This is their own vineyard called Low Clo Radio. This is where they own this vineyard as well as they own the winery. They co-own it with another winery that's also there. They also co-farm this vineyard along with their friends at different winery in there as well. But they also purchase a lot of fruit. So they also work with numerous farmers in the area. And they work with all the same farmers that kind of share the similar passion and growing organic principle as theirs. And they're kind of the firm believer that, as the thing we always talk about here, the good wine is made in the vineyard. So they pay a lot of respect to these hardworking farmers. In fact, if you actually go to their website, they'll identify each vineyard that they purchase fruit from. They give you a full history of the vineyard. They talk about it, and they actually identify the farmers who've been farming it for generations, exactly who the farmers are, and all of that, which is a pretty cool thing. At the end of the day, we talk a lot about wine and it's a sense of place. So it's really about the vineyard site, where it comes from, and the fact that they're giving an intentional shout out to the people who are actually growing the grapes. I think is pretty cool. Yeah, so what is this wine? So get ready. This is going to get pretty weird. This is straight from their tech sheet. So if you looked at the tech sheet, you'll know. But so this is all organically farmed. Some are certified, some are not, but all organically farmed fruit. But this is a 65% skin contact Pinot Gris, and then 10% direct press Pinot Gris. Direct press means you just press the juice right off the skin. So you're minimizing the contact time between the skins and the juice. 5% tank fermented Riesling, 5% barrel fermented Chardonnay, 5% Müller-Thurgau, which is a German grape variety, 5% direct press Cabernet Sauvignon. So you may think this color that we're seeing here, and we're going to talk about this color in a second, may come from the Cabernet Sauvignon, because that's the only red grape that we've mentioned so far. But it's also direct press Cabernet Sauvignon. So when you direct press black grapes, it actually doesn't pick up a lot of color. So this color that you see in here actually comes from that skin contact Pinot Gris, which we'll talk about in a second. And then the last 5% of this is a direct press of all the field blend of different grapes they get off of the Oni vineyard, which is one of the vineyards they source the grapes from. So super weird shit. I mean, I don't think this is the kind of stuff where they have like this blueprint of the wine that they want to build. It's more of like they kind of looked at what they had and then blended them to come out with this wine. It's kind of like, going to a farmer's market, so to speak, and looking at all the ingredients and getting inspired about what to make. So yeah, it's a pretty crazy shit. The various Pinot Gris lots were fermented in open top fermenters on the skins with a daily punch downs until dry, so about 20 days on average. And then about 10% of the Pinot Gris was fermented carbonically. So there's some carbonic maceration on here. You should all be familiar with the carbonic maceration at this point. I think every single person on this call right now has taken the Doge box at one point or another. But yeah, so 10% Pinot Gris was carbonic maceration in sealed containers for the same length of time as the open top fermenters on the skins. And then 2 lots were pressed off together, then moved into a neutral French oak barrel. So that's the Pinot Gris. The Rieslings and the Chardonnay were individually fermented and aged in neutral oak barrels. They like to put their wines on neutral oak barrels, not really for flavors, but just for textural reasons, just kind of round out things. The remaining grape varieties were all picked as a field blend from the Oni vineyards, like I mentioned, and then all of them were pressed together and fermented in aged neutral oak barrels as well. All the lots were blended in the early spring and then bottled, unfiltered, and unfined in late March with a touch of sulfur. They actually listed out, they added 30 ppm, 30 milligrams per liter or parts per million added sulfur at bottom. So this is about what 30% tastes like. And this color that I mentioned, I mean, if you look at the color of this, it's like, yes, it's got a little blush, like rosé-ish color, but it's really coppery. I mean, you can even see it on the screen. Like it's got this very, very unique, almost like a penny right? Like if you were to leave a bunch of pennies in water, like I would imagine this is the kind of color that would leak out, very coppery. And then all of this comes from Pinot Gris. And this kind of wine is called Ramato style. I'll put it in the chat box. Ramato style wine. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Ramato style, it's a skin contact Pinot Grigio or Pinot Gris. Pinot Gris, Pinot Grigio are exact same Gris. Pinot Gris, Italians call it Pinot Grigio, French call it Pinot Gris, but essentially it just means gray Pinot. That's what that means. It was historically made and popularized in the Friuli region of Italy. Talked about Friuli. We've had a box on Friuli region, which is the northeastern part of Friuli, right up against Slovenia, right? So back in the days, Pinot Gris or Pinot Grigio, as the name may suggest, the Gris or Grigio meaning gray, has a bit of this kind of like copperish, grayish kind of hue on its skin just naturally. One of its apparent is a Pinot Noir. So it does come from a black, one of its apparent variety is a black grape. And then not all of the color pigmentation actually went out of the grape. So it was Pinot Gris and Pinot Grigio purposely bred to be a white grape, even though it was actually started out as a Pinot Grigio. And if you remember last week, Sean was talking about how a lot of the tannin that he got in his wine actually comes from Pinot Gris, not the Pinot Noir, because even though it's a white grape, because it was a black grape originally and it was bred to be white, they were never able to get the tannin out. So a lot of the tannin, there's a lot of tannin in Pinot Gris on its own. So yeah, when you ferment the Pinot Gris on its skins, you get this kind of color. And this is called Ramato style. And this is what they make in Friuli. It's quite, I don't know why, but the Ramato from Friuli is always a little bit expensive. I'm yet to find a very affordable option of Ramato style. But yeah, this is basically what it looks like. Not only does it add color, but it also adds texture, body to the wine. It also adds phenolics, right? A lot of tannin from the skins coming out. So it helps with the keeping the wine. So back in the days, ancient times, this helped wines to age as well as keep longer. So there's a lot of kind of reason why one would do this. And then it's also it's a very versatile because of that textural body thing that's built in there, but it still keeps the acid from the Pinot Gris that it's a very versatile in terms of a food pairing. So it's a cool wine to have, but over time, that really early picked, lightly pressed, no skin, direct press Pinot Grigio style of everything that what we think of as Pinot Grigio now, that has become really popular. But back in the days, before the modern winemaking kind of came into picture, when you were talked about Pinot Gris or Pinot Grigio, this is mostly probably what it looks like. So, and I said this, you may be wondering, is the color for Cabernet Sauvignon, but Cabernet Sauvignon was direct pressed only. So really, this color comes from Pinot Gris. So this begs the question, right? I know in the bag, I think they label this as a white wine, but what is this, right? Like, what is a Ramato style? Is this orange wine? Because right, it's made from white grapes. It's sat on the skins for 20 days. Or is this rosé, right? Is it because it's got the color, the huge color? Like if somebody poured you this wine in a restaurant, you didn't know what it was, most likely you think this was rosé, right? So how do we, then it also begs the question, like, how do we define rosé, right? How do you define rosé? Is it the appearance? Is it the presence of color? Is it the actual genetic material, base material of the grapes it came from? Does it have to come from black grapes for it to be rosé? Does it have to come from white grapes? Can it come from white grapes and call it be rosé? So these are all the things that these kind of wines and as a category as a whole kind of makes you question and really challenges the limitation of that word rosé, right? What is rosé? But more and more I think about these things. Perhaps what we're asking is the wrong questions. Maybe it's not whether is it rosé or is it orange. Maybe the question that we should be asking is like, does it really matter? For so long, for human history, this is most likely probably what we drank. It's a kind of a field blend of whatever was grown in the vineyards. Nobody really cared if it was red, it was white. even this idea of kind of single varietal cuvées or single varietal wines is a very new thing. It's a very modern thing. For the majority of wine, the wines were never grown like that. It was just kind of like whatever's grown in that vineyard was all either co-fermented or fermented. Initially, it was co-fermented, but then later on, it's fermented by lots and then blended later, and that's a pretty new thing. So, you know, for longest time, when you think about wine, this is probably the kind of things that we drink, like a white wine that probably has some skin contact on it, had some black grapes thrown in there. It didn't really matter. We didn't care if it was red, it was white or rosé. There's none of that classification now. So, now you wonder, like, does it make a difference to you? Like, does it help you when you're picking out your wines, whether this is called red, this is called white, that's called rosé? Is there a certain level of expectations you have when somebody says, here's a glass of rosé, here's a bottle of rosé? Like, what do you expect from that? I don't know. These are all the kind of things that, I don't know, you should probably think about. We should all think about as a consumers. What are some of those kind of cognitive biases, so to speak, that we have about the wines that we choose, just because we're told that this is a red, or this is a white, or this is a rosé. There's certain things that should fit into that because we built a kind of a framework around it. So, anyways, I'll get off my soapbox, but just wanted to leave that in there for you to ponder about whether that kind of categorization is really helpful for you as a consumer. But yeah, think about that. Anyways, any questions about anything I just went over before we get into the wine? Before we taste the wine. All right. Let's taste the wine. Something. Also, this is the kind of stuff that's really difficult to kind of really put it into, make it fit into this the grid. But we'll try our best. All right, who wants to take the appearance? Bueller? Anyone? Anyone?
We'll take a stab at appearance, although we're rusty for sure.
Perfect.
Super rusty.
So. What a way to just get back in there. Love it.
Right, right. Like I said, super rusty. So that's bear with us.
All right.
Okay, so appearance, and I feel like you probably said some of this, and I think you gave some hints along the way. I mean, for me, this is hazy. It's not super clear. It's not sediment, but it's hazy.
At least I mean, it's I mean, I'd probably still call this clear, but I mean, again, these are why it's kind of difficult to hear. It's definitely, you can tell this is not filtered, right? This wine is not filtered. This is definitely little bit of a haze. Is it enough to call it hazy? You be the judge, but something. It's just making a note that it's not a filtered wine. Intensity?
Intensity, I'd go with medium, I think, because it's not quite that deep color. It's not quite pale, so
yeah, I'll call this medium as well.
Okay, all right, feeling confident. All right, and then in terms of color, so it's funny when you're talking about the rosé versus orange, because I think as soon as I poured it, Ryan was like, "Is this an orange wine?" I'm like, "I don't know. Let's read the label." So, so I would definitely give it more of that probably orange color. But I mean, I think salmon also was good. I don't know, either or.
Yeah, it's like the color here is just like that orange, salmon, copper. Yeah, it's all kind of like, it's not just necessarily pink. There's some orange in there. It's a little more brown than just like salmon. So it's an interesting color to put it in. But if I have to follow this grid, probably like orange is probably what I put on here.
Okay.
Somewhere with salmon, orange, somewhere between salmon and orange, with a copper hue or something like I would say. Any observations?
Gets all through the palette. I do feel like mine has some bubbles, not like a ton, but like a few, like
Yeah.
like not a sparkler, but like a spa, just
Okay.
barely getting there. At least for mine, just a little bit of bubble.
Okay. Yeah, no sediment in my glass. This could have some sediment in the bottom of the glass. It probably definitely does, knowing that it's unfiltered and fine. But as of right now, my bottle is standing as well. I don't have any sediment in my glass. Go, great job. Not rusty at all for someone who just came back after
It's
almost
like
a year.
stretching some muscles, that's all.
Yeah, it's like getting back on the bike. It's good. You get to pick the next person for the nose.
All right. I'm gonna pick Joe K. I don't know if you've been before, but your outside looks amazing. I'm so jealous you get to be outside. It's so hot and rainy and muggy here, so I'm gonna call on you because I'm jealous.
Okay, I am being like eaten alive by insects though, but I
Oh
figured.
no. It's because I was giving you ojo from over here.
All right, news.
Wait. Also, Joe, what was that band that you have around your wine? Is that like a thermometer?
It is. It's like a little nerdy thermometer I got as a stocking stuffer.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
love it.
Slap it around it, and you're like, 43. It's not ready.
Yeah, dig it. All right, nose.
Jeez. Okay. Nose. Well, I guess it's a little faulty in the context of the grid, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Has that kind of like apple walking through a apple orchard after the apples have fallen kind of thing.
Yep, 100%. There's a little bit of like a fermenting apples, a little bit of elevated VA on this thing. It's
Right.
definitely not like a fully clean wine.
I like this though. I like this a lot though. It's good.
But I wouldn't say this is like to a point where VA is just like so overwhelming and dominating. It's just
No.
the style. Yeah. All right, intensity.
I'd say medium plus pronounced.
Yep.
I'm getting it like back here, like
yeah. It's pretty far. Yeah, it's quite expressive. Like I get it cut off the glass. Yeah. Medium plus at minimum. As it warms up, probably get towards a pronounce, but yeah, it's pretty intense. Medium plus at least for now. Medium plus intense or minus. Ooh, pretty good.
Oh boy. Floral, nothing really there. Green fruit. It's a tough one.
I mean, you mentioned some of that, like apple, like fermenting
some pear. I could go pear.
Yeah.
Pear and like old orange peels.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I get some grapefruit here, and I think your earlier kind of description.
You like clean up orange peels from a guest that have been sitting on the counter for like overnight. You're like, what the fuck, man? Like,
yeah, exactly. No, I definitely get some orange peel, orange zest here. I think your earlier call about like orchard floor apples that are like starting to ferment. Like I think that's a great call. Some pear. I definitely get some green fruit on this thing.
Apricot's kind of an easy.
You got some stone fruit, yeah. Okay.
Not really anything tropical for me. Red. Not really. Black fruit. I could go with some plum.
Yeah. I see that. I get like some like sour, like a tart cherry, some plummy kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a whole lot of this thing. It's more green fruit and citrus. Touch of stone fruit, I think it's a good call. Yeah.
Dried or cooked. I mean, oftentimes some of those like stone fruits, like they kind of like almost have a cooked fruit character to me. See, I could say there's some pie on this.
Okay. Yeah.
Some sort of pie.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some high tone notes here. Like some of these fruit characters are not just all about
Some sort of fruit pie.
Yeah, exactly. Fruit pie, candy, some sort of like that like really high tone, almost artificial kind of fruit kind of notes here. Yeah, totally get that for sure. Any herbaceous, herbal, any non-fruit savory things?
Not really.
Me neither. I don't get a whole lot of like herbaceous, herbal, no spice here. Any rockiness?
I maybe like a little bit of flintiness.
Yeah. To me, this is also not super minerally either. It's not listed here, but for me, there's something like, and again, I get this with, I don't know what it is. This is my kind of a paradigm. Like this is my marker for orange wines, like skin contact, any skin contact. But there's always some like tea vibe to me with orange wines. And to me, yeah, like maybe it's like a touch of black tea or like maybe like
I could see that. Like honestly, like teas you get like in China, Asia, they have kind of that more rose.
Yeah, like
kind of thing. They're kind of a little more.
Yeah, some sort of like a roasted black tea kind of a thing. Just touch it, like not over the top, but like chamomile even. If I was gonna go with the floral, like to me, it's like a chamomile, but like there's some sort of that kind of like dry leaves tea kind of a thing going on here, I think. Any secondary, any tertiary things?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. This is really, we're talking about very primary driven fruit, driven wine. But yeah, just a bunch of we're hitting off some kind of other things. Obviously chamomile here that I called out some of it. Joe called out green fruit, some citrus, some stone fruit, maybe touch of that like tart cherry or plum, kind of candied, stewed, pied, some sort of high tone kind of a thing going on here. Not a whole lot on the herbaceous herbal, except for that kind of the tea savoriness element, at least for me. Cool. Excellent. You get to call the next person for the palette.
We'll go one down to Christopher McPherson.
Well, that is good timing because I have to top off my wine anyway. So I will be right back, but okay. All right. Well, this wine is dry. I remember that.
For sure. Sit in.
Say like medium minus acidity. It's not really hitting me that crazy hard. Or okay, wait, no, delayed reaction.
Yeah.
I'd say medium, maybe on the line of maybe the medium plus. Like it's.
I think there's a plenty of acidity there. Dude, mine is pulling.
Okay.
I'll call this medium. I mean, it's got the Riesling in there. It's that Riesling that is
okay.
Epic.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm gonna call this medium plus. So it did hit me a little bit late though. I had to sit there for a bit, but once it started pulling, it just kept pulling. So yeah, I'll call this medium plus as well. Tannin.
I think it's got some grip to it, but not as much. Like prior to some of those Lambruscos, I would have been like, "Oh, this is a higher tannin." But now that the upward bounds have been set, I would say medium minus medium.
Yeah, I mean, I would even go all the way down to maybe possibly low. I'll probably land up medium minus. There's definitely some tannin here. It's not enough here to like really talk about like what is tannin doing here. Like, is it? But it's definitely adding some textural component here to the wine. But yeah, it's kind of there's a layer of a grip to this wine, and so it's what you would expect from a skin contact anyway. So, and going back to Pinot Gris, Ramato style always has a little bit of tannin. So yeah, Medium minus, that's, yeah, low, medium minus. I'll probably call this medium minus myself. All right, alcohol.
I'd say, yeah, medium, like 12.5.
That's what I think too. 12.5, maybe 13, but 12.5 probably. What did it say? 12%. All right, so medium. Right in the medium range. Body.
Got a little body to it. I think it's still not like, yeah, I would say 1% or maybe 2%. So yeah, I'd say solidly medium. I could be convinced maybe trendy. I've never been great at, for me, the like tannin and like body mouthfeel kind of all blend together. So it's sometimes harder for me to untangle that. So, but yeah, no, it definitely feels like there's some shape there.
Yeah, there's definitely some weight here. I'll call this medium, probably like right in the middle of medium. To go back to Leah's earlier point, now that I just poured myself a new glass, there's definitely some dissolved CO2 here. Like when you first pour into the glass, there's definitely some like effervescent like fizziness. It's all that like just trapped CO2 that's coming out, which adds to the texture, adds to the kind of crunchiness, the crunch factor of the wine. But you know, all that skin contact. There's some Cabernet Sauvignon, even if it's direct press, that's thrown in here. There's some Chardonnay thrown in here. There's some wines here. There's some grapes here that have some weight just naturally. So yeah, I would definitely call this a medium. And that's part of what I like about this wine is that, you know, it's not just, you know, like when you got that kind of a trapped CO2, you got that high acid, you just think it's going to be like bright and poppy. And it is for a lot of reasons, but it's also got some weight. Like it's got some serious weight, which makes it really good again for food pairing, and you know it makes you kind of think a little bit more. It's not just like a pound glow kind of thing, which is awesome. But yeah, I'll call this medium myself, 2%. Mousse, we don't have to talk about that. Flavor intensity.
Yeah, I'd go medium plus. Like there's a lot going on. Like I'm getting a lot. So we'll talk about the
there's
next,
nothing shy here. Medium to medium plus for sure. Your temperature will matter. You know how you serve this wine is up to you. This is called labeled white wine, so you want to serve it like I did, chilled and come out. I've seen some people recommend serving this at like a 55, like a cellar temperature, like you would with a heavy, big whites or light reds. I haven't seen anybody talk about serving this room temperature or more of the heavy red territory. But the intensity will change depending on the temperature you're in. Mine is quite cold right now, but even then, yeah, I'll call this about medium plus, medium to higher than medium, lower than medium plus right now. So as this warms up, we'll probably get up to medium plus. So yeah, for sure. Do you agree with all the things that Joe called out? Is there anything else that scream out at you?
Yeah, no, definitely, you know, big in the green fruit, the citrus, stone fruit. Yeah, definitely very like I get that, you know, that fermented apple sort of vibe definitely comes through on the palate for me. As far as anything else, I think I maybe get a little more like floral taste or floral in the palate than I did from the nose. And I don't know if that's like, yeah, just some blossom or honeysuckle or something.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got more on the palate as well. On the nose, I got more of that, just the green fruit.
Yeah.
But on the palate, I think that blossom call I think is a quite good. Not to say this is a very floral wine, but there's definitely kind of that layer of that blossomy, sweet fruit flower kind of a thing here for sure. And also just lingering in the back. And this may be a function of some phenolic bitterness, some of the phenolic kind of things. And obviously with the skin contact, there's a lot of phenolics that's been extracted out into the wine. There's a touch of bitter here, which also plays into that. Like to me, like I am more than even certain, it's not even chamomile to me. This is like, there's definitely this like thing of like Assam black tea kind of thing here. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think like I can sometimes get that, like when a black tea has been oversteeped a little too much and you get that like sort of astringency.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that can like come and feel like tannic, but with like a slightly different character to it. So I definitely get what you're saying there.
Cool.
But yeah, no, nothing else like in the, bottom half of the thing.
Yeah, I do want to talk about
I don't get any minerality. I don't get any secondary or tertiary.
Yeah.
Very fresh.
Yeah, to me, this is not a hugely mineral wine. It's all just kind of primary fruit and flower. But I do want to talk about this just for a second. I don't know for a fact that if this has gone through MLF, how much of it has gone through MLF, or what the deal is. Probably the ones that were in barrels probably went through some level of MLF. But there's this layer, like the acid here is really high and sharp, that we call the medium plus. It's really, there's this elevated kind of a acid notes here, and which keeps it bright. But as an overall kind of general shape of wine, like I would not call this sharp. Like there's a lot of like really soft rounded edges around the wine. I think that is all function of that neutral barrel aging that these guys put it through. It could be malolactic, but I don't see it as mallow. Maybe it could be some mallow. But yeah, just wanted to point that out. So as you folks are all tasting it, kind of think about the just textural, the shape of the wine. It's not really jagged and sharp. It's got really kind of rounded, soft edges around it, which is really nice. Especially when it's got some weight, it's got some round edges, but the acid is like there, like the backbone is there. So which is good. All right, the length.
Still going. It's hard to tell if it's like still going or if it's just still like the acidity, and maybe it's like as my glass warmed up a little bit, the acidity came out to play a little more for me. Like when I just poured it, it was still very, very cold.
Yeah.
Like I could still feel it in the back of my jaw. But yeah, I would say probably a medium plus finish.
Yeah,
Medium,
to me,
or
maybe it's not necessarily the pleasant part of the wine that's sticking around. Like I get all the fruit and all of that, but like to about medium. But there's a little bit of that bitterness, the phenolics, skin contact bitterness, tannin bitterness that's coming through. There's a little bit of that, the tea component of it. All of that just kind of lingers. They really say everything, but for a little bit longer. So if you landed at anywhere between medium to medium plus, I think that's totally acceptable here. But in terms of the actual fruit, I would say this is about medium. But there's some.
Yeah, it definitely finishes in stages and leaves some. The high acidity with all the fruit is great, but when it's the high acidity plus the bitterness and none of the fruit, then you're like, what's that? Okay.
Cool. Take it on for us.
Body level. So intensity, we said medium plus on both palate and nose. Finish, we said medium to medium plus. Complexity, I would say we are maybe medium. It's pretty much all primary, but there, it was a little, mostly focused within 3 categories. But it wasn't just a stone fruit bomb or a red fruit bomb. It was like a solid mix. And then intensity, complexity, finish. What's the fourth? I'm blanking.
That's it. And then
That's
of
it.
course it's
Okay.
balanced, but yeah,
Oh,
I think it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. I would say it's balanced. There's nothing crazy out of place. So medium plus medium plus medium. Yeah, I'd err on being generous and say this is a very good wine.
Yeah, I think everything just kind of falls right in between medium to medium plus intensity, medium plus on the nose,
Yeah.
medium to medium plus on the palate. Intensity, I'm right there with you. I'll call it probably about medium. We didn't talk about secondary, tertiary. We did a few things in primaries. I call that about medium. Length, we call it somewhere between medium to medium plus. But we're landing somewhere between good and very good here. So depending on your generosity, you can go either very good or good, really up to you. But I think that's all completely acceptable call. Would you age this?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it has the tannin and acid level to age. I'd be interested to see where that like spread of primary fruit characters go with some age. I don't think I would go crazy long because we said we said what medium minus on tannins, but it has a medium plus acidity. So like, I think it has the acid to be back to have some back or the acidic backbone to age it. But I think maybe 5 years. Like I would want to see what it was like at 3, and then maybe if it was still drinking good, go longer. But it's also really good now, and probably wouldn't wouldn't last this if I had a case of this, it probably would only have a few bottles left at the end of the summer.
Yeah, like to me, it has some acid on it, touch of tannin from the skins, decent intensity, medium to medium plus. So we call medium plus on the nose, medium on the palate, medium to medium plus on the palate. So like structurally, it's got some aging potential here. Not huge, but some. It's decent. But in terms of flavor, this is the kind of things where, maybe could age, but does that mean is it actually going to be better? Like to me, what's delicious about this wine is all the freshness that's drinking right now. Like all the fruit that's in here with a balance of that little bit of that like skin contact, savory tea thing, with a little bit of bruised apple, but also that like the high tone, that like pie fruit thing that Joe was talking about, like all those different like fruit characters that kind of running through. Like to me, that's what's really delicious about this. And as you start to lose that and then get more of the savory things like tea and all this stuff, I wonder if it's going to be any better. I don't think it's going to fall off. I don't think it's going to oxidize and fall off because it, like you mentioned, it has a decent backbone. So yeah, I think if you wanted to age this, yeah, I think 3, maybe 5 is a good call. But honestly, I would say drink it now because it's I don't know. I think this is exactly what it's meant to be. I think it's meant to be drunk young, fresh, and enjoyed now, not necessarily as a evolved, complex kind of thing that turns into. But that's just my opinion. It could be different. Winemaker may say, age it. It may be cool. But to me, this is drinking now. But if you want to age it just to see where it goes, it probably won't fall apart within next 5 years. So drink it over the next 5 years just to see what it does. Maybe it will get better. I don't know. Who knows? But I like it the way it is right personally. Cool. Good job, everyone. Any questions? Any disagreements? This is the kind of wine there could be a lot of disagreements. I'm actually curious how much this is gonna split the room. How many of you guys like this one? How many of you guys did not care for this one? I mean, Allison, I already know you probably didn't like it. There's some elevated VA on this thing. So
I didn't actually get that much VA on it, to be honest.
okay.
And I don't mind it at all. I just don't love it. I'm gonna happily drink the bottle. I just won't buy any.
Yeah.
To me,
Heidi?
I experience it as an orange wine, which is like not my favorite style.
Yeah.
And so I would also be curious to know from the group, like feels like this is rosé or orange or neither or both or whatever.
Yeah. Heidi, what do you think? Or what about it? You gave me some so-so. I want to hear your opinion.
I don't dislike it, but it is giving everything all at once, which I appreciated about it because it's like completely out of the ordinary, out of the box, but at the same time, there's no path to follow, so it's kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, so I like that it's not normal, it's out of the ordinary, it's gonna completely make everyone question wine as it is and as they know it, but at the same time, it's kind of like, but what is it? And so if someone asked me about it, like a regular consumer, if I didn't know them, I would never tell them to buy this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be able to explain it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I dig the little bit of petulance on it. I like the sour, like everything's subtle
Yeah.
and taking you somewhere. So I do like what it says.
Yeah, there's a
Go ahead.
lot to kind of like, if you want to get nerdy about it, like there's a lot of little things that you can like go back and retaste for. That's kind of what I like about the wine. But more than anything, what I appreciate about this wine, whether you like it or not, is that, like you said, it's very singular in its own expression. Like there's no kind of like reference point for this kind of wine. Like it is standing in its own lane and exists as its own category, it's its own thing. There's nothing like it. Fact that someone in Oregon. Oh, hello.
Hey, Jimmy. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. It's bedtime for me. Well, I have no hands.
Okay.
It is bedtime for you.
He
Amazing.
insisted. Apologies.
Okay. But the fact that like wine like this, right? Like a Ramato style Pinot Gris, that's a blend of at least six different varieties that are being made out of Oregon. Like Oregon's going through this like whole revolution now where like Pinot Gris, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir kind of rule the game for so long that now they're kind of setting this tone of like Oregon is not just about Pinot Noir and Chardonnay.
And Pinot Gris from Oregon is one of my favorite examples of Oregon.
And
so
different,
I'm totally into that.
Right, and different style of that Pinot Gris, right? Like it's not that same Pinot Gris you think about. Like you really this wine and what B and Ross are trying to do is that they're really challenging, kind of tying into this month's theme of kind of the limitation and rigidity of all these like wines that are put into boxes. Like this is a Pinot Gris, this is Chardonnay, this is a Pinot Noir, and then they come out and say, here's a skin contact Pinot Gris that is blended with the 6 different varieties, some barrels, some not. Like, what the fuck is this, right? Like, and they're just doing their own thing. And to me, there's a lot that is cool about that. Yeah, so that's what I appreciate about this. And I just happen to like this wine. I like the VA. I don't mind the bitterness. I don't. There's a phenolic bitterness here, but I think it's quite actually in balance. I don't see it as out of balance. It's like just on the teetering on, maybe a little too much, but like I don't think it's too much. Acid is really great. So yeah, there's a lot about this wine that I like. There are certain things that I wish there was a little more of, maybe a little less of. But overall, I just appreciate the wine for what it stands for and what it's trying to do. So that's my thing.
I like the fact that it seems like I feel like every couple of sips it changes. Like I get different fruits, I get different flavors. Sometimes I'm like, this tastes solidly an orange wine, and then the next couple, the next sip is different. Like it just keeps changing, and I think that makes it really interesting. There's like something surprising in every sip.
Totally. They're layers. This is not, I mean, you can drink this, you can pound this if you want to. You put a really cold, chill it down, this will go down real easy. But if you really want to sit there and pull out all those layers and things you were talking about, there's some like exactly, but there's a lot going on in this one. So yeah. Cool. Any other questions? All right. Well, let's play everybody's favorite game. How much do you think this is on a retail shelf? How much would you be happy? Would you be happy paying for this on a retail shelf? Numbers, Oregon, not necessarily cheap. They haven't quite reached that, you know, economy scale yet. But, you know, this is meant to be kind of a entry level, nothing crazy, but it is really well farmed grapes. 45, 28, 25, 18, 25, 25, 28, 28, 22, 27, 25. All right. That's all kind of in the ballpark, maybe except for Heidi. But this one comes in at $25.50, you know, retail shop. So, I mean, for $25.50, like to get something that is like this kind of cool and different, and like this is definitely a conversation starter. You know what I mean? Like you bring this to any party, people are like, "What the fuck is that one?" You pour this for somebody, they're like, "What is that?" Right? Unless you're going to some like a, you know, natty wine party with a capital N, like the cool kid natty party. But like, you know, people are gonna be like, "What is that?" So I think it's super cool. I think it's cool. Any questions? All right.
So Woong, I do have a question. Is this the way they make wine in general, which is just sort of, I mean, I don't know whether they repeat this sort of wine on an annual basis where they like sort of mix a lot of different varietals together, or is this just one shot? I don't know what other sort of things.
No, so they have these kind of 4 different tranches, sort of, you can think about. So they have a classic tranche, which is all about single vineyard, single variety. It's about variety expression from that particular vineyard kind of thing. So they do that. They do another one that is even more hyper-focused. It's like a single plot. So it's not even within a vineyard, that single plot, certain amount of rows, they see a particular characteristic, they will do that. They'll bottle that. And then they do things like this, where it's just kind of like out of ordinary, just crazy shit. And I think, honestly, things like this, I think is, so they're making all this single classic kind of a expression, single bottling, single plot, single vineyard, all of these. And some of those plots probably don't necessarily, or barrels don't necessarily quite, you know, make it into the full bottling blend at the end. And so they have all this, because they vinify all this separately. I mean, just the amount of different, because they work in like 6 different vineyards. And for them to have 6 different vineyards, there's probably a few different plots within that vineyard, and probably a few different varieties within that. So for them to vinify all those things separately, even tracking all that shit is like, to me, is like, I don't even know how they do that. But at the end of it, they probably have all these different smidgen different parts that are left over, and they're trying to figure out like, what do we do with this wine? And then they come up with things like this, right? Where it's just like, oh, we have a bunch of Pinot Gris that are coming in. It's not enough for us to make a barrel. But if we blend it with some other things that are coming in, can probably make a couple more barrels. Put some on skins, figure out what to do. It's like an Iron Chef style cooking, figuring out, seeing the ingredients and like figuring all that. So they have the tranche of doing that. So no, to answer your question, this is not the only thing they do. They have some wines that are very, very kind of like a, I don't want to say conventional classic, because they're still subscribed to that very like natty mineral intervention style kind of a thing. But that idea of single varietal, single vineyard, that kind of bottling cubes, they do that. which are also beautiful. They're beautiful wines, very different. Obviously more expensive than this, but they're also beautiful wines, really good. I'll offer some on the case club if they have some left over. Yeah, they don't make a whole lot of wine either, so we get very, very small amount of it in DC. So yeah, this just came into the market literally at the end of last year, beginning of this year. So this just hit the market, just came into DC. Hasn't been around for a while. Any other questions? Cool. Hearing none, I'm gonna turn off the recording.